Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
And away we go.
Straight cash, homie.
Bonus episode alert. Bonus episode alert. 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 That's right. We promised this earlier in the week here on Purple Daily, presented by Quick Trip, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a dang Super Bowl before we die. And we said we would pick the schedule a couple days ago. And so that's what we're going to do, boys. We're going to pick the schedule. We don't know who the Vikings quarterbacks, and we know Jaren Hall is starting this weekend. We know they've traded for Josh Dobbs, and he's a rocket scientist who's learning his fourth playbook in 2 years.
Doesn't matter.
Smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
I went up to our friend Chip Scoggins, who you're going to have a Purple Access episode. He was at the Wolves game last night, so we were hanging out for a while. And I was like, Chipper, tell me about your guy. He's a big Volunteers fan, Tennessee Volunteers. Josh Dobbs. We got our guy. And Chip was like, he's a good guy to have in the room. He's fine, but he goes, I watched him play a lot of games at Tennessee. And Chip wasn't super impressed, but I'm excited for you to get the full download because he's probably watched more Josh Dobbs over the years than we have, right?
That sounds like he was let down.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling it, but So let's do this. Let's just go through the schedule. We've got it up on the screen here for the YouTube audience. The Vikings are 4-4. I'll throw out a game, and you guys tell me if you think the Vikings are going to win or lose the game, and elaborate how much you want to. All right.
All right.
Well, we're kind of spoiling the purple picks here a little bit. We do have the right to. We reserve the right to change this by Saturday. Mm-hmm. But right now on this Thursday, at Atlanta, Taylor Heineke is the starting quarterback.
So, while I'm very curious to see Jaren Hall and what Kevin O'Connell can do, I feel like coming out of the gate with a win now, and previously in all of our iterations of this, I think pick a win here, but this is one now that I feel like I got to slow the old Judd sports dad roll. This is a loss.
Oh wow!
I don't think it's probably like a blowout. I think it's probably a close competitive game. I hope, but I'm not going to say that Jaren Hall first start. I'm just gonna slow myself down a bit and say this is a loss, which then ends the 3-game winning streak and puts the Vikings at 4-5.
Can you keep track of your own, by the way, too? Because
all right, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on,
you were going to forget to do that.
Stella, where's my notepad? Okay.
For me, I believe this is also a loss. I think this is going to be an incredibly ugly football game. Taylor Heineke against Jaren Hall. I like Jaren Hall. I'm excited to see what he's got, but I think going on the road, facing a good Falcons defense too, I think is too tall of a task. It's a loss for me. It's a loss.
I mean, I think the Falcons have lost their last 2 home games. They lost to the Commanders at home. They just let a rookie quarterback in Will Levis carve them for 4 touchdowns against Tennessee last week. I think the Vikings snag one here. I think they put together a good game plan. I think they're fired up. They're listening to Creed in the locker room. They're banded together. Kirk's been texting with Jaren Hall all week, helping him out. I like the mojo right now. Give me a Vikings win here. Okay, home against the Saints.
I think this is a win. I think they're going to come home off a loss. I think that if Hall does not play well, Dobbs will. And I think Dobbs is the type of guy who with the talent that he's potentially going to have, could win a game. This also, although I'm not expecting it, is the first game that Justin Jefferson eligible to come back for. So I'm going to say that this is a home win. Again, I'm with Dex. I think it all might be incredibly ugly, but I think there's some emotion involved because it's a home game.
I'll give it a win. The Saints are still okay. Derek Carr's, I think, having a down season in his first season in New Orleans, but I think the Vikings being back at home, getting Jaren Hall, or even obviously Joshua Dobbs, whoever the starting quarterback is, a little bit more used to the system, and they'll have the good decision to make after the Falcons game, or they'll make the right decision after the Falcons game. I have this as a win, so they're back to 500 for me.
I think the Saints, despite the records being, I think the Saints are better than the Falcons. The Saints are actually, if you look at DVOA, the Saints are actually 12th in the NFL, and the Falcons are 25th And you know who the Saints quarterback is. You know, he's not elite, but he's better than what the Falcons are running out there. So here's my – and by the way, the Saints, they've had 2 road games in the last month where they've won and scored 34 and 38 points on the road. So for whatever reason, they've been lighting it up on the road a little bit in the last month. I think the Vikings are going to win off of sort of adrenaline and emotion and win one for Kirk and let's keep this thing going. And then some more tape is going to be out there on Jaron Hall going into that Saints game. Or maybe they start Josh Dobbs and he's playing his first game. I just feel like a letdown against the Saints is likely there. So it's a loss for me.
Fair enough.
And that brings us to the Bears at home. Right now it's a Monday Night Football game, but Broncos. Sorry, at Denver.
Broncos.
At Denver. I'm sorry, that's the Sunday night game that's currently. Those both could get flexed, but Denver on a Sunday night.
Ooh. Don't know.
Now here's a guy.
Yeah, this is I'm gonna go with if they show this piece of garbage, by the way, shame on them. But if they do show it, I'm gonna go with a loss. I'm gonna go with a Broncos win in this game.
Wow, dude. No faith, man. No faith.
Yeah.
Jack?
I have this as a loss, whether it's in prime time. Regardless, I think this is going to be a loss. And maybe Denver's figuring out a little bit here. I don't love Russ Wilson. Sean Payton's, such a great guy. But maybe Denver's starting to figure it out here a little bit. And just being on the road, altitude change too, man. Don't dispute that either. I have this as a loss.
I'm more concerned about the altitude change than Denver, like the team. So the Broncos have won 2 games in a row. Ugly win over the Packers 2 weeks ago. And then an ugly win over the Chiefs in a game. I think the Chiefs turned the ball over 5 times, and Patrick Mahomes was like sick with the flu. And Travis Kelce was just sort of, sick being apart from Taylor Swift, who's in Argentina. Also, the Broncos offense in that game was just 5 yards, cloud of dust, dink, dunk. Russell Wilson threw for like 110 yards or something and 3 touchdowns because they had short field positions. I think the wins have been sort of fraudulent. I think the Vikings are just straight up, by every measurement, a better team. So I'm going to go win. I think the Vikings win this game even without Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Now we get the Bears, potentially on a Monday night. The Bears.
It's the Bears. If you lose, fire everybody, and I don't care if a high school freshman starts at QB for you. This is a win. This better be a win.
Yeah, put the tank outside US Bank Stadium if you end up blowing this game. That's kind of where I'm at, even if you have to start, obviously, your second, third string quarterback, i.e. not Kirk Cousins. But if you lose this game at home to the Bears, whether it's Tyson Bagent or Justin Fields, there's problems. So it's a win for me. Go out there and beat the dang Bears.
Yeah, it should be a win. I don't want to discuss the possibility of it not being a win. You should be winning this game. So it's a win for me as well. Mm-hmm. Then you get to rest up. You get to do your self-scout week on the bye before heading to Las Vegas, where that'll be a big weekend in Las Vegas with the Timberwolves playing in the NBA in-season tournament semifinals and championship. Absolutely. And the Vegas Raiders hosting the Vikings. Judd?
Oh, boy. So the Raiders
fired everybody.
The Raiders just blew it up at midnight Central 2 nights ago. This team is a disaster. Aiden O'Connell is going to start. We don't know if Garoppolo, hell, we don't even know if he's going to play another game for him.
He's terrible.
I'm going to say by a process of elimination, the Vikings win this game, because I don't think the Raiders are necessarily, I don't think they're going to get a boost. Like, I think they're just a mess.
Yeah,
so
it's bad.
I think I've had different predictions when we did this before with Cousins starting, but now just knowing what we know about both teams, I'm going to say it's a Viking win.
It's a win for me, too. The Raiders are just so dysfunctional. It's honestly comical. They're paying Josh McDaniels and John Gruden millions upon millions of dollars for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
So this one's a win for me.
This is, again, one of those, every time we do this, you're kind of weighing, like, you're going game by game, but you're also like, are they really going to go, like, 4 wins in 5 games for me, the way I have it, without Kirk Cousins? But just back to DVOA, which is, probably the best overall encapsulation analytically of where each team in the NFL ranks. So at the top of the list right now, it's Baltimore, San Francisco, Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo, Detroit, Jaguars, Philadelphia, Dallas. Like at the top, it's a pretty strong snapshot of who the top 10 teams are, and I think we'd all agree. At the bottom, I'm just going to give you some of these opponents. Falcons, 25th in DVOA. Broncos, 27th in DVOA. Bears, 29th. Raiders, 30th. They're playing the worst teams in the NFL, basically, not named the Giants. They already played the Panthers and beat them.
Yep.
So it's a win. Like, they just fired everyone. They're terrible. So It's a win. Okay. Let's move on to week 15 here at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, it gets tougher now. This is where it gets tougher. At the Bengals are starting to play better. Joe Burrow now actually looks completely back from the leg injury. This is a loss for the Vikings.
It's a loss as well for me. I would like to know when this game's being played, please, by the way. Can you cater to my schedule, please, NFL? Can we figure this out? My birthday is the day before. We got a company holiday party that's like, there's a lot of things going on that weekend. We got holidays rolling around. Come on, NFL. Get your bleep together. I'd like to know when this game's being played, but I will say it doesn't matter because the Vikings will lose this game.
It's a loss, yeah, especially if Joe Burrow's calf is healthy. It's hard to envision Dobbs or Jaron Hall going in. I mean, the Bengals, even with Burrow, though, at times have looked a little bit sluggish offensively, but it's a win for the Bengals over the Vikings. Okay, now we get our first matchup against the Lions here, Week 16 at home, Christmas Eve.
I'm changing my tune here. Previously, I was all on a split, but with the quarterback situation, assuming Detroit has health at this point, which, by the way, is just an assumption, this is a Viking loss.
Yeah, I think with Kirk, legit, I liked this game a lot, but I think you're just completely outmatched here with an inferior quarterback at play, unless just Jaron Hall or Josh Dobbs just look like the second coming of Brock Purdy. That's a different story. But I'm gonna have this as a loss right now.
Yeah, right now I've kind of had this as a loss even with Kirk the whole season because I do think the Lions are a level better than the Vikings, but the Vikings have really changed that conversation the last 3 weeks. But now they're without Kirk, so I'm going to keep it as a loss here. It might be a division clinching situation with a couple weeks left if the Lions win that game. So yeah, sure. We'll see. And then we go ahead to New Year's Eve, Vikings hosting the Packers. Right now, that's an NBC primetime game, but probably
again. God help these. This is awful. Anyway, this is a win. I have seen the Packers, and they stink. I think you can beat them. I think you're going to be, or I don't think I know. You're going to be at home. Who knows if Jordan Love is playing? I mean, the Packers look terrible. I think the Vikings, just as a franchise now, are more competent. So Dobbs might start. Jaron Hall might start. Tommy Kramer might start. I don't think it matters. It's a win for the Vikings. Yeah,
I think it's a win as well. The Packers are just horrible. It's great to see. And I think the Vikings can win this game. It'll be an interesting, potentially New Year's Eve situation. Vikings-Packers fans on a very important holiday in the calendar year, but I think the Vikings win this game.
Yep, it's a win. Doesn't matter. They could run Wildcat for all I care. That Packers team is terrible, and Jordan Love or his backup are not going to solve the Brian Flores defense in a raucous environment. And the way we have it, it's going to be like Vikings fighting for playoff position, it's a win. And that brings us to week 18 at Detroit, final game of the season.
So this game is a bit of a wild card because, like if Phil said, if Detroit has clinched the division, who do they play and for how long? This could be a huge game for the Vikings wild card positioning. But you know what? The Vikings, having just beat the Packers and having expended all that they can expend in a season that has been filled with a bad start and now the loss of their quarterback, the Vikings are going to be just tuckered out. They're going to be gassed by now. It's going to be the end of the road. The Lions will play their starters for a half. That will be sufficient. The Vikings will have a bit of a letdown. It's over and lose this game.
So in my fictional scenario here, the Lions have wrapped up the division and they've wrapped up their playoff seeding, and they are playing their B squad. They are not playing anyone meaningful in this game. And whether it's Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall, the Vikings win this game, and they finish 9-8, and they probably sneak in as the last seed in the NFC.
Yeah, I think
that's my scenario.
I'm sort of with Declan here in this fictional scenario, that the Lions already clinched the division, but they aren't going to be clinching because there's only one bye. So they're not going to be that team, I don't think. That'll probably be the Eagles. So they're going to clinch a division, but they're not going to have anything to play for. So Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the starting quarterback in that game. Aiden Hutchinson probably sits on defense.
What if Teddy beats the Vikings?
I don't think that's going to happen, Judd. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I got the Vikings winning, and the Vikings finishing 10-7. So Declan, you have them 9-8.
Yep.
8-9
for me.
8-9. 8-9. I got O'Connell at the podium post game in Ford Field, tears welling in his eyes as he talks about how proud he is of this team.
If they finish 8-9, and they knew at the trade deadline that they were going to be without Kirk Cousins for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
If they finish the way that Judd says at 8-9, are you going to go back and rip them for not trading Danielle Hunter?
No, I will not. I promise I won't.
Because that would be the absolute worst case scenario.
I know it will be.
At least in our scenarios, they're getting back to the playoffs and they're building a culture and all that stuff, right?
I told you that realizing where things stood, I did not think, and this is why I won't rip them. I did not think that they were in a position to gut the locker room.
Yep.
So I just don't think that would be like business-wise. I don't like what I'm saying, but there's an aspect of some guys you probably just can't trade. Look, it would be simpler if this team had 2 wins right now.
It would be very easy. Yeah,
everything would have been simple, but no, they can't do that. Now, I will say this, depending on what Daniil gets contractually, if he leaves here, I think they might be open to some ripping, especially if they sign Cousins for too much. Because I do think by not trading him, and yes, he's not young, but he's 29 right now. I think there's a very good case to be made that you should just now pay the man with how he's playing, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
To his credit, I didn't expect.
Pay him.
Pay the man.
Get me, Mike.
All right. We just picked the schedule right there. I was going more for the Teddy KGB Rounders thing. You guys were going more Die Hard. Either way, both good movies.
It's a Christmas movie. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They're both
Great
fantastic movies, though. Like, let's not dismiss either one.
What do you guys think the record, not you guys, the audience, what do you think the record will be? Hit us up on social or hit us up in the YouTube comment section. Please click that like and subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, and a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts also helps grow this thing. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll see you for a Feedback Friday on Friday. All right, welcome into Stepping Up, presented by Federated Insurance, where we talk with next-generation business owners and business leaders about their process, about their philosophies, what challenges they face, and their vision for the future of business. And our guest on this episode is the Chief Operating Officer of the Minnesota Timberwolves, a man who has seen a lot of basketball and a lot of sports business the last 20 or 25 years, Ryan Tanke. Thank you for joining, Ryan.
Great to see you, Phil. Great to be here. Thank you for having me on. This is fun.
A friend of mine who's done some business leadership consulting throughout the last 20 years. And he's always said, everyone has a different definition of leadership. The way that he defines leadership is facilitating the success of your team, essentially. Mm-hmm. Do you have a way that you define leadership? Do you have any sort of like what is leadership to you, I guess?
Yeah, I think leadership is helping people unlock and achieve, things that they otherwise sometimes don't believe are possible. Sometimes they just need, help with a roadmap. So I think it's helping people unlock and achieve is sort of leadership. We talk all the time here, Phil, about impact. And so I think the number one obligation and responsibility of a leader is like create impact. And I don't mean like on the business, I mean on the people, which is I look at 2 things every day are kind of by filter, which is 1, who did I impact today? And 2 is how do I want to be remembered? And if I can, go through that impact and legacy aspects of this, oftentimes you're going to make the right decisions along the way.
Love it, man. Love to hear that, and appreciate your insights on business leadership. And yeah, Ryan, it was great catching up. Thanks for your time today, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Love doing it, and love to do it again sometime.
Ryan Tanke, the Chief Operating Officer of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Minnesota Lynx here on Stepping Up, presented by Federated Insurance.